Oh, how's everybody doing? Hi, Canadian Watch Monkey. Mr. Valjoux, how are you? How are things in Seattle? Boy, you must be up early there. Um, is the sound in the video okay? Just checking here. I'm going to turn this to the side here. I got. Hi, Thomas. Hey, Big Sal. Pepsi. Good to see you guys. Okay, good. The video and sound are okay. Hi, Gavin. Okie doke. Let me uh, get started here. Hang on one second. Um, find my goodie here. 3 seconds. Recover. Feature. I'm trying to locate. Uh, Come on. I've got to. There we go. Okie doke. There. Okie doke. Let me sort of explain why I picked this topic for today. Hi, Hader and Owen and John and Tim. How are you? The reason I picked this topic today, I on my Friday video yesterday, I had a little video called Three Fundamental. Wait, that's today. I had a video on how you could get a wristwatch put together by a master watchmaker. I mean, with a movement by a master watchmaker, and sort of went through the steps that you needed to consider. And it was based on Jean-Francois Moljon's Chronode C102. That was a movement that it was based on. And the reason that I was looking at that, I had talked about and done some work with some of these other top watchmakers, in particular Agenor, and it was, the experience has been thrilling. Really, I mean, it's been fairly complex, okay, but it's in the long run, it's turning out. The problem was that, and I say problem in a very reserved sense. Uh, People like to use the word challenges instead of problems that they deal with, and certainly appropriate because there were so many things to take care of, and I didn't know which one was up half the time, and nobody else did either. But we've worked through it, and we're going to end up with this incredible watch. Now, when I saw the Chronode 102, if 10 people got together, or you ordered 10, you could get them for about $1,300 a piece. Now, this is not a knockoff of some other movement. It's not a ETA. It's by a company that was started by a one of the top watchmakers in the world, namely Jean-Francois Moljon. Okay, so uh, there, and then I talked about, well, this is what you need. You're going to need a case. You're going to need a dial. You're going to need some hands, and you put it all together. And then when you get it, then you buy a strap on your own. And so the more I thought about it, so well, this is something that's not too difficult. Hey, Rancher, how you doing? Rich Scotty and Alexander, how are you? Neighbor Dominic, hi. Isa, John. Um, the coordination, dial size, and case is not to be taken lightly. Of course not. Not lightly. Trust me, you have no idea how not lightly that is. Hi, Lee. Um, so so let's talk about this. Let's talk about what's involved. And I talk about three things that I thought were important. You need a clear definition and focus on what you're doing. That's one thing. You need a financial plan, and you need a willingness to compromise. I think a better term than willingness to compromise is more like to work with a sense of sort of coming together in a cooperative mode, and to work things out, not so that one side wins and one side loses, but rather to to accomplish a goal together. Okay. Sometimes some kinds of things that in the progress or in the process, the cooperative solution always turns out to be better than either any extremes that we've encountered. So anyway, and so instead of compromise, that's really what I meant. The sort of more of a cooperative kind of thing, working together to arrive at a common goal. So that's what I meant by the willingness to compromise. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about was a clear definition of and focus on the goal. You'd be surprised how many tangents there are. Now, just to make things nice and clear, I'm going to concentrate on the Crenode 102. The Crenode 102. This is the one that Mojon's company did, and it's a fairly robust movement in its basic form. It's an automatic. It's got a date, and then it's got hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay, I would rather work on a watch that's not an automatic, but it's hand wound. I'd rather work on one without a date window to worry about, uh, and I'm working on all of those right now still. But if you have something like that, if you have a movement like that by a world class watchmaker, man, I tell you, that's you know, if you could make a watch from that, then you're way ahead of the game. In looking at watches with Mojon movements, I mean, they're way up there. I think I was looking at some by Cyrus. There was one around $8,000 or somewhere in that neighborhood. And what I was thinking of is something around maybe under 2,000. That was what the video was about. And going through there, I thought, well, I'll find a case. And so I contacted Ickler, and they gave me some sort of workarounds for it. It wasn't You're not going to get a case that is exactly made for that. And then I got an email from uh, Jean Francois Mojon, and he said, "Well, we've been working with this outfit. I think it's to organize your watch or something like that." And so I started looking around at these different options, and so there are different kinds of elements that are going on, and one that becomes huge once you decide, once you get the case squared away and you got a case that works. Okay, the next thing is a dial. Now, it's not so much, I mean, you're going to need a dial with, and this is sort of the interesting part about it. You can get the Crenode movement either with small seconds at 9 o'clock or with center seconds, which I thought was really an interesting option because you know, it has huge implications. Generally, small seconds are a little more sleek because they don't have the second hand on top of the hour and minute hand, and um, it's also part of the style. On the other hand, some people like the small seconds. They usually have them either at 6 o'clock or 9 o'clock. Some of them have them at different places, but with these, you have one at 9 o'clock. Okay, so what that would require would simply be, if you go with the small seconds, it would be finding a dial with these the cannon pinion in the middle. You can stack the hour and minute hand on, and then the small seconds. Okay, now I sound like Ed Malin. Okay, all right. Oh, Eduardo, thank you. I like him. He's he's like half my age and uh, really a super nice guy. Okay, um, yeah, okay, John. It's something. This is what I mean about focus. You're trying to work. Okay, we got this thing, and we're trying to move with it. Oh, by the way, you could do this. You could take the rotor off. It was like ah. Okay. Hey, Koji, how you doing? The chop shops in New York's Diamond District swapping watch parts sounds like a skilled labor hearing you talk. Okay, Mr. Valju. That's another thing about focus. Listen up. Hey, Tuna, how you doing, man? Okay. So uh, the the email that I got from um, Mojan was he said, okay, check out this place. I think it's called uh, Organize Your Watch or something like that. And so I did. I contacted him, and the guy from there got back to me and stuff. And we're going to have a video meeting on next week because I want to talk to him about it. There's a lot more going on here that I wanted to talk about this afternoon. What I wanted to talk about was an entirely other model of marketing. Okay, and I think it's one that is user centric. So many of the models we have are sort of a business centric and without the kind of regard for two things. One is the customer, and two is change. And I mean, one of the things the pandemic has done has shown that how much can be done without face-to-face contact. And like I said, I'm going to meet with this guy on Zoom this next week. So, oh, by the way, too, this is what I did. We before we started the project that I've been working on for the last, I got since June, I guess. Um, we had a site called uh, Pure Horology, and what we did there was we sort of kicked around some ideas, and then when we really started going, we started our own private discussion site. Okay, and that's to keep out, it's sort of a noise. So what I did is that I went back and I changed the Pure Horology site. I'm going to treat that as like an incubator site. So anybody who wants to can go back there and say, "Hey guys, this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to make a watch, and this is what I want to use for the movement. But we got to buy so many. So let's say, can we do this as a group?" So if you're interested in this, if you go to Pure Horology and you want to start up something, be my guest. That's what it's for. It's like I said, it's like an incubator site, and then you can go off on your own Facebook page to develop beyond that. So that was another thing I thought of. Okay. Hey, Thomas, I've been thinking of doing something like this while applying to watchmaking school, and we'll have to do a master's project in the fourth year, something like a limited run of three pieces. Wow. Tim, swapping watch parts on Jewelers Row in New York City is commonplace, but don't buy there. Yeah, I've been there. By the way, this is in on 47th Street. This is where I found this is where I got both of my FP Jorns. It turned out to be both of them were great deals. So take that. Federico told me not to go there. Anyway, the problem with building your own watch is the dial. That's only one of the problems, Tim. There are a whole bunch more. Um, the major stumbling block in case size. The cases are for 6487, usually a 6497, I think. We'll need machine insert. Other cases aren't properly sized. Oh, yeah, John, I know that. Yeah, this is there. There's some things that was sort of like you want to keep it under $2,000. Yeah. Hey, Owen, let me see. The companies would need to have an outreach limb, bespoke service designed to coordinate integration of the components. Reminds me of a restored car. Yeah, like a singer. Um, and selecting a handset is even a correlation between the power movement and the weight of the handset. Yeah, most handsets are pretty light. I mean, I don't know to what extent they become an issue, but I guess they could. On all of the watches that I've made, um, the issue, and I think the main one has been to have to get the movement and the case working together. Sometimes it's the size of the dial or one thing or the other. Sometimes it's the hands. One of the things that's always been a bugaboo for me is getting the hands on a small second. Um, but this is something. If you haven't done this, let me recommend this. If you're thinking of, well, I think I'll go out and get a really good movement putting something together. Before you do that, go to some place like AliExpress, and you can find a clone movement and case and everything else. This is a watch I did a while back, and the thing that's nice about it is that the case exactly fits the movement. The ones that I was looking at Eckler, they have a set of movements that are associated with specific they have cases that are associated with specific movements, okay? And so, you can get a number of ETA movements and just sort of match them up with a case, and that that is exactly what you can also do with some really cheap ones. Now, the reason I would suggest a really cheap one to begin with, you can break them. I could give lessons on how to break these things, but the point is that it can be done, and of course, getting tools and so on and so forth. Um, hey, Crappy, how you doing? We would need a fine machine shop and some set of crowns and stems and so forth. Okay, John. Yeah, no, I mean, what you're talking about, John, is that here we have a watch that's really incredible. That's all I got. That's all about the only thing I could say about it. Just amazing the way it's turned out. And a lot of us weren't sure, what would happen, but we were working with these top Swiss companies, and I think I've learned twice as much as I knew about watchmaking as before I went into this project. And the trick isn't to go out and buy a bunch of machinery, but rather work with people who have that machinery and see if you can, what you can work out with it. Okay, that yeah, I think is more important. And the other thing too about a project like this, there are 1,000 reasons not to do it, and there's only one reason to do it, and that one reason is that, well, you're a watch collector, and you wanna get a watch with really a top movement that you can afford. I mean, but there are all kinds of, you can spread around, "Well, you can't do this, you can't do that," and you can't. That's true, you can't, and you'll never do anything. So, off we went like Don Quixote, after the windmills, and, um so, it's the kind of thing. I'm not encouraging you to do it, but people who have that kind of streak in them, who have a real desire for having a piece of really great horology, but have not the great, but they don't have a bank account to go with it. then this is a solution to that, or this is one way you can deal with it. Um, Outsourcing is a smart move. I looked into machinery and would cost, yeah, right. You're absolutely right, Thomas. So, but again, we're talking about a group project here. And in a group project, this is, a lot of people keep thinking micro brand and things like that. This is totally different from that. And I think that you have a a sense of, well, let's see if we can do this, and um, and there's so many difficult things, but fortunately, like I said, the Mojan gave me the name of this one company, the Swiss company, that's called it. To talk about, hey, we worked with Crenode before. And then they have some kind of thing. This is going to cost you, and this is going to cost you, and so forth. I got a whole different alternative that I'd like to talk about this afternoon. But let's talk about the other part right now. The first part. Okay, so you need a clear definition and focus on the goal. That's so hard to do for a lot of people. They can't. They're always off on some stupid tangent, and they'll never get anything done. They probably never have, and so they probably wouldn't be involved in this kind of project anyway. The second thing is the financial plan. Uh, Man, um, the financial plan is basically okay. We'll take a simple one like getting a Canode. Okay, you get 10 guys together, and everybody chips in $1,300. Okay, and so then you can buy 10 of these movements. Now, the other part of it, I mean, the thing about the Crenode movements is that you know exactly what they're going to cost. Okay, so since you know exactly what they're going to cost, you can plan around that, and that's not too difficult. Where the tricky part comes is when you're getting the other components for it. Um, I was getting emails this morning from this one company in Germany, and the guy, it's not their fault. They're still thinking of in a very old-fashioned way. Sort of, they're just sort of like they don't want to make it easy for anybody. Uh, and the point is, if they don't, then they're not going to have many customers. And so that's like I said, that's another issue I'm going to talk about this afternoon. But the extent to which you know exactly what your case is going to be, what your dial is going to be, and what your hands are going to be, and put them together. When you know that, then you'll know how to finance that. Now, there are different ways to go about doing it. The way I like to do it best is that just go get your parts yourself, and then a bunch of people get together and talk about it. But that's but if you have to buy 10 at a pop minimum, which is pretty good because you have to buy 25 shares, which is end up paying for a lot more. Okay, so you got these 10 movements. Now the unknowns would be the 10 cases and dials and so forth. And then that's pretty much the finances of it. Okay, okie doke. All right. So that's the final part is the willingness to if you're doing a thing with a group, you want to work together. That is the hardest part of anything. When I used to teach programming, I had my students would have clients, okay, and they would say, "God, the clients I got are really nuts. How come you give me all these crazy clients?" I go there and this is, I get the software and I say, "Okay, what do you want?" And they don't know, or they change their mind all the time. Uh, the people part's always going to be the hardest, and so working with people, I think the extent to which everyone understands that the main goal is to get the watch done. and get it done really the way that they'd like to. It is going to involve not getting necessarily every little thing that you want, but rather getting something that everybody wants, and that can be very tricky, believe me. And but that's part of it. Now, if you're willing to have that, if you can get a clear definition and a focus, and you can get a financial plan together, and 10 people, believe me, that's not hard compared to we're dealing with 50 people with our project, and it's but it involves so much more, and it's a lot of work. That's the other thing too. The part that's a lot of work is the fun part. I mean, like, yeah, you have to think about things, and you really have to think about the watch. I mean, you go down and you buy, a really expensive one, like an FP Journe, or you buy a one, anything from an Invicta to an Omega to a Rolex, whatever you get. You don't have to think that much. I mean, it's sort of like, well, I've done the research, and this one's good because of this, and this is because of this. If you're making a watch, I mean, if you're putting everything together, and you're dealing with a group of people, it's just a lot more work. And if you're not willing to do that, then that's okay. But man, I tell you, when it comes to saving money, I'm willing to do a whole lot, and that's what we've done. Um, yeah, Thomas, that's a good way to put it. Okay, was there a breaking point when you saw a clear path to completion? Mr. Valju, what it was sort of like a series of little things that happened. We were like miracle-like fortunate, and the people that we got to work with, working with all of them, just were incredible. Our biggest probably was meeting Nicholas Viderek, who helped us get the movement. And then working with another huge thing was we got a real designer, somebody who knew about watch design, and that had to go into a case and dial, had to go into everything, and that was a huge help. Um, which I tell you, when this project is finished, I want to have a nice video about it, and just everything that was involved. But the thing of it is that you can't let little things get you down. This is why focus is important. People will get off on a tangent going all every which way, and if you get a clear focus on what you're doing, you can get it done. And there were times I talked to a lot of guys. They felt that, like, oh, we can never do this. We couldn't have a watch this good, not for what we're going to get it for, and yet we've done it. And so it's sort of like, I don't know, something at one time. I don't know if this is true or not, but I once read that bees weren't supposed to fly, but they didn't know any better, so they did anyway. We were sort of like the bee. We didn't know any better, so we went flying around. But what's coming out of it is so worth it. I mean, time-wise, we're gonna probably, from beginning to end, we spent about a year. Now, uh, I suppose during that time, we may have been able to save enough money or make it on the side or something to buy the blasted thing from someone, but there were a lot of things that played into it. One was that, this was in the middle of the pandemic. We thought it was over, back in, June of 2021. We thought, well, it's pretty well done, and then, then Omicron came and all of this other weird stuff happened. And so we've had to work right through the whole pandemic, which and the problem of it was that some of the people we were working with got hit by the blasted thing. Um, so that sort of upset schedules and just but yeah, you're sticking with it. That's the whole thing, and that's a fun part too. Oddly enough, we're going to look back at that and say, "Wow, yeah, that was a lot of fun." Hey, Pete's Timepiece. How you doing, man? Hey, how's Croatia? I was in Croatia a few years ago. Beautiful, beautiful place. Hey, Koji. Um, okay, so this is what this is where we are right now. But what I wanted to do is that if you're interested in a project, go ahead and you can be my guest. You can use the Pure Horology page sort of to get people together and say, hey, let's kick this around, and put something together. Uh, the challenge is to stop the goal put from moving constantly when you're working in different personality types. No kidding. It's big Sal, you got it. It's sort of like, almost like an acid trip, everything is moving around and you're trying to put these things out. And I think, if you got the right people involved, things can, really end up well. Oh, listen, we're out of time. Where's my timekeeper? Usually I get hit upside the head. Um, but anyway, uh, this is sort of a invitation to think about these things. Um, yeah, John, you're right. Focus. The case is the first base. Well, after the movement. Um, I think there's a possibility that if our experience is replicated a few times, the component makers will up to start up start up their prices or in groups. I don't know, Rancher. Either that, what I'm hoping is the opposite. That's what I wanted to talk about this afternoon. Okay, I got some ideas that um, when I was uh, started a publishing company. You talk about doing something weird. Um, had software, working with software and computer books. There was the marketing is yeah, you could be very creative about it. The same thing in terms of production. We were one of the first publishers to use oh, typesetting using a laser printer. Nobody had used a laser printer, and I had to deal with these people that did all of this weird little stuff. So I think the thing is that necessity is the mother of invention, and if you're not rich, I can't go down and buy something like, oh, here, here's $100,000. I want that watch. That's not going to happen. On the other hand, though, I don't mind sort of going into some kind of really cool project and having a good time doing it. Okay. So, hey, Big Sal, sorry about that. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's just a shame that most movement manufacturers only produce in large quantities. Yeah, Thomas, see, this is one of the things. This is what I want to talk about this afternoon. How can this be good for movement makers, case makers, and so forth in such a way that they can do quite well at a better price point and other kinds of things. You take Let me just start with one, and this is I want to talk about this later this afternoon. Looking at those Eckler cases, they were about $250 a piece. Okay, the ones that I get from um, elsewhere. Okay, I have a bunch of these. These I get from someplace like AliExpress or something like that. And they're $20, and that's it. But Eckler's case, I thought, heck, I've been doing all this work. I'm going to get an Eckler case, and I did, and they're really nice cases. But we're talking like what is I think it was $228. And if you look at the prices of cases, that's pretty hefty price. But when you look at it from another view, that's a heck of a good price for a really top quality case. It's got to sort of change your thinking, and I think there's a way that people making cases can do something to make it easier to buy. And that I think is what they need to do, rather than saying, well, this is the way we've always done it, and we've never done very well, so we know what we're doing. Anyway, if you can, drop on by this afternoon at 4 o'clock, New York time, if you can. Thank you all for getting up so early. Some of you, I know it's in the afternoon, but some it's really early morning. And drop by this afternoon if you have the time, and stay safe. We're almost out of it, I think. I hope. Knock on wood.